let me introduce myself. My name is Ryan Becker. I'm on the Bing team. I've been on this group for the last 8 years or so. And I'm joined here by my co-host, who can introduce herself here.
Hey everyone, this is Saujanya Srivalli, and I'm actually also a program manager with Ryan and the Bing team. And yeah, I've been working in enterprise search and search space for over 10 years now. So I think it's a very exciting time for search, Ryan.
Yeah, this is a lot of neat new developments coming out in the industry right now, and so we're excited to help roll these out to you today and get these in available in your enterprise. So with that said, again, our agenda, I won't go through these line by line, but our end goal is that each of you can follow along on our session today and go through the enablement process of Microsoft Search and Bing for your company. And we'll also talk about some of the reasons why you want to do this, and how to have a successful deployment, how to get help if you get stuck. But at the end of the day, we think this is such an easy thing you can do. You can accomplish it in the next 45 minutes. So we're excited about that. This is something that came out at Ignite a couple weeks ago. We made a big announcement about some of the different new Microsoft Search offerings that we have available. Johnny, do you want to talk about that a little bit?
But isn't it exciting though? We have Microsoft Search all across the Microsoft 365 apps and services.
That's right.
So right from Bing on the web to your Office apps on the desktop, Office.com, SharePoint, Windows, Edge, everything. You know, Microsoft Search is everywhere almost. It's one capability across all of your search experiences, and I love it.
That's great.
And it's powered, of course, by Microsoft Graph, which means it's personalized to you as your user. And the important thing here is the Bing technologies with the relevance and the answers and all the capabilities that we have been exposing and experimenting, and also gaining user feedback on the web. Now we have all of that on the enterprise level.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So really it meets users where they are, regardless of what their entry point is.
Exactly, right? And I think that's the biggest thing, where they are and the whole coherence and the consistency of the results itself.
Very cool. Very cool. So let's actually dive into a little bit further and talk about that in a little bit more depth. Okay, no sound is what someone just said. Let's switch. Okay, come on. All right, can folks hear us? Okay, it looks like most folks can hear, so we're going to kind of keep plugging through, and we'll definitely follow up if folks have issues later on. So, okay.
So I think the benefits of Microsoft Search, as you can see, is like it's everywhere, right? Whether it's on your Bing.com. So the research has shown that 20 to 30% of the employee time is spent on web searching. And it's so nice to actually finally get your enterprise results right where the user is searching, right? If there's anything that you have in context for the employee, where the work and web comes together, I think that's the winning situation here. Of course, we have integrated with Office Online Apps, Office.com, and guess what? In the next few months, you'll actually have it in the Windows search box also.
Very cool. Okay. Yeah. So it's really it's kind of ubiquitous, regardless of where your users in your enterprise are used to searching for content. Sort of the same sort of results, the same sort of content will flow to that experience.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. This is cool. So today, I think we're focused on the upper left quadrant here, getting this enabled for Microsoft Search and Bing, and that's kind of the first place where a lot of these new scenarios are going to flow. So before I start talking about how to go about doing that, I want to actually switch to a poll and find out who, if anyone on this call, has already enabled the product. So we're actually going to pop up a quick poll. If you'd take a moment and answer the questions, we'll share the results with folks in about 30 seconds here. So while everyone's answering that, let's kind of talk about some of the benefits of Microsoft Search and Bing. So we made this announcement 2 weeks ago at Ignite, right? And maybe, Johnny, you can kind of share what sort of like the reception is and what we've heard from customers so far.
Yeah, I think everybody is so excited about the whole Microsoft Search itself. I think we have had great buzz from large industries, large enterprises, to very small enterprises also, because now it's part of your Office 365 and Microsoft 365 offering itself. So it's part of, what you've already been purchasing. And it's something, I mean, if folks have been working in search and in the search space, they would know that it's something that users always want. Like one place to search for everything and, search the same search experience no matter where I'm searching for. I think we're bringing the best of both the worlds together.
Cool. So let's go ahead and close that poll down, and we will share the results right now. So if you want to go ahead and do that. So it looks like we have about a third of folks who have essentially already enabled the product. That's fantastic. And it looks like we have 20% or so that are looking to do it soon, and then another 40 or so percent that are undecided. So hopefully we can unblock anyone today that hasn't tried it yet.
Yeah, definitely. I think the 40% folks, let us know what will, turn the needle one way or the other. I think we're here to help you answer those questions today. Yeah.
Cool. So I'm going to go ahead and switch back to our presentation, and we will kind of dive into what it's all about and get it enabled. So let's go ahead and do that. Switch to that. Perfect. All right, so now that the poll is done, we're going to move on. Okay, so today we're kind of sharing with you how to enable, again, Microsoft Search in your organization. There's a lot of reasons why customers might want to consider starting down this path, right? We've talked about kind of there's this opportunity to have the product on multiple entry points, but why would you want to consider starting with Bing? You want to say a few words on that?
Yeah, I think for me, the first thing is the amount of time I as a user spend on the web search, right? So there's examples for me personally about childcare, for example. I'm spending so much time looking for childcare information, and suddenly one day I see that there's actually a benefit that Microsoft offers for childcare right within my web results in Bing, right? And that was a magic, and it was a game changer for me, because now I can almost look for my external information about the daycares around my area, but also know the benefits and the offerings that I have right within my organization.
Very
right?
Cool. Okay.
I think that's the one big thing. But also the other thing, like I mentioned, for me, it's about 20% of the time we as employees spend web searching, and it makes so much sense for us to, bridge the results from web and work together wherever it makes sense, right? Contextual to the experience.
So it's familiar. It's familiar,
yeah. And web search is much faster, right? Everything is fast, right at the tip of your search query. As soon as it's done, it's there. I think it's pretty cool to get everything in there. And yeah, I think, Ryan, I'm looking forward to talking about some of the cool innovations we have done as part of Microsoft Search in Bing itself, and how it will flow through the whole Microsoft Search experiences across the board.
Yeah, let's actually look at some of the scenarios that are kind of exposed here. So while we do that, let's see if I can switch over to let me come to that comment just a second when we talk about some of the scenarios. But I want to get people started down the path of enabling Microsoft Search and Bing for their users. So let's talk for just a second about the requirements, and then we can talk about some of the scenarios and some of the kind of the AI aspects that come with the product.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So first and foremost, you really kind of comes down to having an Office 365 subscription. So as part of that, we expect you're going to have AAD, a SharePoint Online or hybrid, deployment, Exchange, and then there's a certain set of SKUs we support. They're listed on the screen there. Really, then there's a set of locations that we've chosen to support with our public preview launch. And the rationale for this is we're best at our triggering and sort of relevance for these specific markets. There's more coming in the coming year that we're going to launch as well, but we want to kind of get our feet wet with this initial set.
Awesome. But does it mean, Ryan, that if my employees are in Norway, that they will not see Microsoft Search and Bing?
That's a great question. So the location supported are really just you need to have your tenant in that location in order to turn Microsoft Search and Bing on. Once it's on, your users can be anywhere in the globe. They can have all the contents localized to their markets as well. So any user can be anywhere in the world and get the experience. The only requirement is that the tenant has to be in that location.
That's cool. Yeah.
Okay. Good question. Okay. So with that covered, let's go ahead and switch over to. I actually want to switch over to sharing exactly what steps you would do to launch the product. So I'm going to see if I can do this. I'm going to go on a limb here and see if I can get this to work. I'm switching over to sharing my desktop. And my hope is that everyone can see that momentarily. Hopefully, I see it's coming up for a few folks. And if that doesn't work, then we might fall back to a different choice. Let's make sure that comes up. Is everyone seeing the screen? It's I just want to take a quick poll of folks to see if they're seeing the desktop. Hopefully, a nice beach. Nothing? Okay, not yet. All right. Okay, well, that's all right. So instead, I have a backup plan. All right, so first, I'm going to go ahead and switch this back to slides momentarily. Let's go ahead and have everyone switch to aka. Or pull up a browser and go to aka.ms/Microsoft Search in Bing. And that is the starting point for getting this enabled for your product. And so what this is kind of like the landing page. It really articulates a lot of the key scenarios for your company. Mm-hmm. And so let's talk very briefly about what those are while we go about enabling this. So first one is searching for people in your organization, right? So you have all your colleagues. We take advantage of Azure Active Directory and pull in information about your users and expose that to other colleagues within your organization. Right. So it's a powerful way to see where people sit within in their offices, as well as quick information on contact information. Skype integration is there as well. So finding information about people. The second one really is document search, and I want to take a moment here to talk about some of the capabilities you get with sort of document search and why this is above and beyond just the regular SharePoint search that you may be familiar with already. So in fact, so Johnny, do you want to talk about some of the AI capabilities that might come along with that?
Yeah, I was just about to say, when I was looking at the screenshot, Ryan, is like, see how it says me or my manager? I've always wanted to search for that way, right? Now it sort of understands the intent of what I mean when I say me. It's me as the user. So it shows my profile information and all the things that I've been doing within my Microsoft 365 and Office 365 space. That's probably the favorite feature. The whole natural language support that we're striving towards with Microsoft Search and Bing, and of course that will flow across all the experiences in the future, right? The best part for me is like my manager's documents. I love to see what my manager has been working on that he has shared with me, but not necessarily sent me, that he has shared. And, you know, I am up to date on what work is going on for my one-on-one conversation with him. And, you know, it keeps me in good terms. And
can you see everything he's working on though, or?
No. So here's the thing, right? We honor security. So security trimming and permissioning is a big thing in search across the board in Microsoft Search. And so as we do that, we actually just make sure that you're seeing the information that's shared with you.
Okay.
And yeah, another cool thing that I've realized with Microsoft Search and Bing, and you know, hopefully it'll go across all the experiences, is the whole thing about nicknames, right? Do you remember Rosie from work? Did you really know what her real name was?
No, what is it?
It's Roseanne.
Okay.
Yeah, but
okay.
I'm sure you never searched for it as Roseanne, right? You probably just searched for it as Rosie. And so that's another feature that I really like. What I'm also excited about is the whole Q&A stuff, because now my admin at Microsoft has done a really good job of, you know, securing and creating Q&As for me. So I get all my employee questions answered right within my search experience.
Very cool. Okay. So we talked about documents, we talked about people. What can you tell me about bookmarks and maybe question answers?
Yeah, so bookmarks, like, I mean, as a user, I think every single person has a list of links that they refer to on a regular basis, right? And in the browser world, we're very familiar with bookmarking things.
Mm-hmm.
But imagine like the collective knowledge of all the employees in the organization coming together in one single place.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's how you think about bookmarks, right?
Nice.
Just making sure that, everything that your employee may need, whether it's in the SharePoint world, Microsoft 365 world, but more importantly, the things that are not in the space, right? Where it could be a ServiceNow information, an article, wiki in Confluence, or a Jira, where you actually enter your project daily tasks and all those things. So I think it is very, very critical. Like I'm a big user of bookmarks in my organization.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure, if done right, every single user will find benefits for bookmarks.
Very cool. So let's actually why don't we show people how to turn this on?
Absolutely.
I think we're ready for that.
Yeah.
So hopefully everyone's on the page, our Explore page here. It's again aka.ms/Microsoft Search in Bing, and we're going to walk you through it right now. It's pretty quick. So I'm going to assume most of you are admins. You can also in the future direct your users to this page to sign in. It's also just bing.com/business. It'll prompt them for their AAD credentials to sign in. But if you're an admin, all you need to do is click here. We have a quick guide, just a few steps to get this set up. And so I'm going to walk you through this.
Just 4 steps, Ryan? 4
steps is all it takes to get this enabled for your organization. And I do want to call out that I think I've seen a couple questions on, wait, if it's this fast, like how do I control who in my organization sees it? You can actually control whether you just want to turn it on for specific security groups, so you don't have to roll it out to the entire company right away.
Are you showing that?
And you can do a Facebook. Let's actually do it. You're right.
Yes,
let's go ahead and do that.
Let's see that. Yeah.
So what you can do is these are the 4 steps you're going to follow. If you go to office.com, you can log in with your AAD credentials. So you could do that just by clicking Get Started here as well. So this will take you to the Admin Center as part of the Office portal. I've already signed in here with my AAD credentials. If you don't see the screen right away, you can always get back here by going to Settings, Services, and Add-ins. And that's where you land right here. I'm going to have you scroll down a little bit and go to Microsoft Search. Click that. You have a little flyout. And I turned it on previously here, but most of you should probably see step 1 here as Activate Microsoft Search. You just flip this switch, hit Save, and that's it. You're enabled. That is the only step you need to do on this particular portal. So there's a few different configuration steps that I want to walk you through as well that will really enhance the experience for your users as well. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and click Get Started. And that's going to launch us off to the Bing admin portal. And we do have plans to integrate these together in the future. We just want to get this out there to you guys early on.
We are in public preview at this point, right? So it's a preview product. It's not a GA product yet. And hopefully by GA, we should have one admin center, Ryan?
That's right. That is our goal. That's our goal. So if you have not, just a couple scenarios here. If you've never turned this on before, you're going to come and see a wizard that walks you through the few configuration steps you might want to do. 3 different steps. Let's go ahead and do those right now to get you going. So first of all, click Get Started. And on this next page, we have a list of connected services that Microsoft Search and Bing support. So this is basically saying, what are the types of content I want to expose to my users? And so by default, we have all these on. People, groups, SharePoint documents, and then we also have conversation search. So that would be Teams and Yammer conversations that we can expose.
So Ryan, what happens if my organization doesn't use Yammer?
So if you don't use this, we won't have results for that content type.
Mm-hmm.
You can go ahead and leave that off. Also, if there's for some reason you don't want to expose one of these to your users, you can also leave those off as well, and they won't show up in the experience either.
That's very cool. Yeah.
So one of the kind of biggest requests we've heard from users is for support for Teams and Yammer. So that was something we added recently as well.
Yeah, and I do see a lot of Teams fans already in our call, so I'm sure they'll love this.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right. So if you've turned all these services on, go ahead and click Next. The next step is basically customization for your company. And so what you can do is put your company name in. The feedback email alias is essentially we'll look at the feedback tool in a moment, but this is where all the feedback about the content's being exposed to your users. This is where they can send that feedback, and so we recommend you use maybe a security group for this or a team discussion alias. You can, for now, just leave the basic query suggestions, me and my documents there. We can talk about how to change those and update those later on. If you have a logo you want to add for your company, 48-pixel image, you can come back and do this later on as well if you don't have one handy right at the moment. And then, of course, you can customize a color to match your company colors as well for your organization. So let's go ahead and leave that there. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and click Next. And we have an option to import best bets. Now, so John, you're an enterprise kind of wizard and expert. Why would someone want to do this? What does this really entail for you?
So frankly, in an ideal scenario, you shouldn't need to do this, right? Because the experience should be same. The data should flow through everywhere. But we are moving from a SharePoint query rules kind of a world into more of like a seamless experience of how I'm sure you will show in the next few steps here of how to create bookmarks and Q&As, right? The simplicity of that. So for right now, because we're still in public preview and figuring out how these things sort of blend together, if you have invested in promoted results in your SharePoint environment, it makes total sense to expose it into your Microsoft Search in Bing, because that's the value of the information. You already have figured out what the top destinations are for your employees, and if they search in Bing with those queries, it makes total sense to show them that information and point them to the right information right from there.
Cool. So for now, if you want to go ahead and click Scheduled, it'll schedule a background job to run, and you can come back to that later. It won't actually publish the bookmarks to start off with. It'll put them in a staging environment, and we'll look at that in a few minutes as well. So go ahead and hit Next, and that's it. You are now complete setup for our little quick start wizard. But I want to walk you through some of the other capabilities that you can take advantage of, including how to modify the users that are having access to the experience. Talk about how to add question answers as well as bookmarks and kind of what the difference is between those.
Okay.
So for now, let's hit all done. Hopefully everyone has been able to follow along and accomplish this. Maybe if you've successfully done this, if you want to just throw a quick yay, I'm enabled in the chat window, that'd be kind of cool to see how many people actually were able to get this turned on for themselves. But while you're doing that, let me talk kind of through some of the different experiences here. So this is a landing dashboard, and what this is intended for is to sort of showcase the types of content that your users are searching for. We're going to look at bookmarks and Q&As right now as well, so let's go ahead and switch over to that. Then we'll come back and talk about some of the insights you can get from the content. So Johnny, like, what is a bookmark? Why would you want to use it? What role does it play for Microsoft Search?
So I would think about it as bookmarks and Q&As are complementary.
Mm-hmm.
So the way we think about bookmarks is anything that's information, that's directional. So you're actually pointing users to a data of information somewhere else, right? Versus Q&As is information right there. Mm-hmm. So it's an answer that's available right within the search results page for the user to consume. Okay. So the way I think about bookmarks is anything like, if I'm an employee and I'm looking for the HR website, or if I'm an employee and looking for the policy for refunds, everything that can be available for me as an employee can actually technically be a bookmark. Mm-hmm. Again, we'll have to make a determination of what information organically shows up in the search results versus what information you want to sort of push. There are many scenarios in which your organization can actually have an authoritative source of information, something that's coming from maybe the HR or the legal department or the corporate office. You always want to promote that information, right? Because somebody is working behind the scenes to make sure that the right information is curated and presented. So that's why we can use bookmarks for those kinds of scenarios.
Very cool. Okay.
I also like to use bookmarks as a way to sort of bridge the gap of not being able to index all the information. Mm-hmm. So we could have another non-Microsoft 365 data source. Maybe it's a ServiceNow or a Confluence. Or anything else that you have. And if there are top information that people look for organically in those systems, it makes sense for us to also create bookmarks for that.
Okay, very cool.
Again, coming from a SharePoint world, I love the simplicity of how we can create bookmarks. I love the fact that you can export and import and, start from scratch, just import everything. I think that's the biggest time saver here when we create bookmarks.
Cool. Yeah, so real quick, in case folks are wondering, there's 4 kind of pages here of bookmarks. First one's published. These are the ones that your users will be able to trigger and get within the experience already. You can also create drafts or create some bookmarks and not actually publish them. We have a third type, which is called schedule, which is maybe you have an announcement that you want to have go out during the holidays, so you can make a bookmark only available certain times of the year. And lastly, we have suggested bookmarks, which is the category that you would see from your import SharePoint best bets, right? So going through that, so you can also import, export. We won't go through that right now, but that is also supported if you want to do that in bulk. Okay, cool. So we talked about bookmarks. Q&A is really conceptually very similar. You have some additional capabilities you can add. We support Power Apps, right?
Oh yeah, that's true. I completely forgot about that. I think that's amazing feature within bookmarks. If you can actually go to the edit panel and show how we integrate with Power Apps, Ryan, I think that'll be super cool. So if you have Power Apps in your organization, whether it's for your timesheets or whether it's for your vacation planning.
So down here you have a Power App link. You can add a Power App and just put in the app ID. And if you want to have a forced width and height parameter, you can load your Power App right into the result, and then your users can complete a task, for example, logging their time away from the office right within search result experience.
Yeah, and I think the one app that I love in Microsoft is the Kudos. I think I've never given so many kudos to my colleagues. Yeah.
Oh, I need to get some of those.
Yeah. Maybe after this call, so we'll see that.
So hopefully you guys take advantage of that. Let's talk about users and connected services for a moment. So I mentioned earlier you can control who's getting access to this experience. If you want to test it out within your organization, you can do that right here in Preview Users. By default, it's enabled for everyone, but you can scope it to a specific set of users by putting in a specific user group or individual if you want to do that. So that's one way to sort of control who has access initially. Just wanted to highlight that. All right, cool. So that's that. Let's also look at...
Ryan, can you talk to me about what editors is and users and permissions?
Yeah, that's a great question. Let's make sure we go through that. So we have 3 kind of different roles within the experience. Admins can control essentially the whole experience. They can change what the look and feel is, the colors, all that type of stuff. We also have a role called editors, which if you have people in your organization that want to manage bookmarks and Q&As, but you don't want them modifying other parts of the experience, these guys can come in and add or remove or modify keywords for bookmarks and question answers.
That's cool. So now I can delegate some of my administration to other folks in the organization?
Exactly.
Cool.
And then, of course, preview users are the ones that can sign in and get the experience.
That's cool.
So real quick, we'll talk about a couple other things. We looked at connected services here earlier. So during the wizard experience, if you chose not to turn something on, you can always come back and turn it off or on here as well. And content settings, these are the sort of things you went through in the wizard as well that talk about what your organization is. If you want to update the feedback email alias or add query suggestions, these are things that will show up to your users who might be new to the experience. We have a first run experience for new users that can essentially get some suggested queries that they can try it out with.
Yeah, I think I would love to actually have the top query of my query suggestion as a top portals in my organization so that people can directly click on them and then just go to the right portal, right?
Cool. Okay. So let's look at tools for just one moment to talk about some of the things that come along with the product you might want to take advantage of. We won't spend a ton of time here. We might have a separate webcast on this. We do have 2 kind of things called browser extensions and a search extension. Do you want to talk about what those are and kind of what the difference is there?
Yeah, so the content creator browser extension is for your editors and for your administrators, and it's basically an easy way for them to create bookmarks and Q&As. So imagine that you're using any of your favorite browser, right? And you're navigating through the information in the organization, and suddenly you think, oh, this is a great information that I probably want to share with my employees, right? And then you have a plugin right within the browser that opens up, and you can actually either suggest a bookmark or a Q&A for that content. I think that's pretty cool and very powerful. So I love to sort of, empower the editors in the organization to be able to create content and help me as an administrator build that repository of bookmarks and Q&A.
Cool.
The Microsoft Search and Bing extension is actually pretty cool. This is for the end users, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think one of the user here asked, like, why do I need to move to Bing for the Microsoft Search experience? And my answer would be, you probably don't have to use Bing for Microsoft Search experience, right? Just have the extension, whether you're searching in your favorite, search engine. If you want enterprise results from your company and just quick way, you don't have to now navigate to your, home portal, like maybe a SharePoint site or whatever that is. You can directly open up the extension search from right within there, and that's pretty cool, right?
Nice. So it kind of meets the users where they are, like where they like. If they don't want to go to Bing itself, they can use this as an extension to also search for enterprise content.
Right. And one of the things we didn't talk about Microsoft Search in general is the whole any browser, any device kind of a notion. So it now is device agnostic, browser agnostic. We support the functionality everywhere. And hopefully in the future, we'll actually be data source agnostic, right? So we'll have all the information, make it a truly enterprise search experience.
Nice. Okay, wonderful. So I'm going to wrap this up and go up to the dashboard section, which sort of is a summary of the things we just talked about. Since I just turned this tenant on and I just enabled it, I don't have any information on the top search queries, but we'll expose that as well. And then you can also see like the types of content your users are getting. And again, since we're a trusted experience, and what does that really mean? Since we're trusted, we don't want to share the specific queries your users are making, but we share the kind of the general themes to help you make a better experience for them. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, actually, so search is very personal, right? Your search queries are very personal to the user, and nobody, even me, nobody likes those queries to be shared with anyone. And we make sure that we honor the user's interests with search experiences, right? So all the queries for you as a user are your own. Nobody sees them. They're all anonymized. And the results that you see here in the admin dashboard, when you see the top search queries, are actually an amalgamation of queries that are coming in your organization. So the admin may see like the top, 100 or 200 queries here, but they would never be able to associate it with like a user, for example. So you can search all you want, and you are the only person who knows what you're searching for.
Very cool. Okay. So why don't we test out the experience we just turned on?
Yeah, sure. That's how it looks. Yeah.
So let's go ahead and we're just going to go to Bing. And we recommend you can send your users for the first time, bing.com/business. And I'm already signed in here, but if you needed to sign in, you could come up here and sign into your work or school account, depending on what type of organization you have. But this is where you put your AAD credentials in. And we have a few queries that we loaded up earlier on. So I'm just going to show you what the experience looks like. So I know I need to reset my password in the near future, so I'm just going to look for password reset. And this is can you tell if it's a Q&A or bookmark?
I think it looks like an answer to me, right?
An answer,
you can directly see the information right there. It's pretty cool, actually. I love the way you don't have to go anywhere to find an answer or ask anybody anymore. It's right there. Yeah,
so we got some instructions as well as a link. So these are things you can all customize within that bookmark itself. And while I have this up, say, for example, a user discovered, hey, this may not be the right place to send users. Let's talk about feedback for a moment.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
So users have a couple means of providing feedback. And you as admins have a couple other mechanisms we'll talk about as well. So there's really two types of feedback. If a user wants to send information specifically to the IT team versus Microsoft, they have a choice in that. So by default, we have a user voice integration where people can say, hey, here's my thoughts about the product, and they can send this directly to Microsoft, and we can improve the product that way. But if they also have IT feedback, this is where that feedback alias, this is where that information gets sent if they want to update a bookmark or things like that.
So if the link is broken, then I just send an email to my IT admin?
Exactly. That's right.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
That's right.
I mean, I love the fact that I can actually influence the direction of the product through user voice. I think that's very powerful for me as a user.
Yeah, well, we're definitely in public preview phase wanting to get that type of feedback from our customers. So that's how you send feedback. But let's look at a couple other experiences. I have a couple people in my organization. One of my colleagues, his name is Lee. So I'm going to go ahead and show results from work. It's not good. So now I can see all the different types of information about Lee. So I can see the files he's worked on recently. He's got a SharePoint site, different conversations I've had with him, both in Yammer and Teams.
So did you actually notice, Ryan, when you actually typed the name that you got an option to see more results, but we didn't really open up the pane? And that's important because, we understand that you as a user are in the web world, you're doing your web searches. And if you're not confident about, your intent, we want to give the precedence to the web results, right? So we did not intro you with the answer, but if you were to actually look for something else where the confidence is higher, you may actually see the pane open up just like it did for your Q&As.
Yeah, that's actually a really great point. And I think it's probably a good time to call out some of the intelligence that we're bringing to the table with this. So you can see here we have, you're probably all familiar with Autosuggest. It might be called a few different things, but we call it Autosuggest, which sort of helps you complete the query you're putting in. So I just started typing Deborah, and since I'm logged in with my AAD credentials, it highlights here that there's a person named Deborah Berger within my organization, my company called Contoso. And so instead of finishing her name, maybe I don't remember what her last name is, I'll be able to click directly on her name and go straight to her results. So here are some Yammer conversations that I've had with her.
And this is where you actually see those queries that you typed in as the administrator, like me or my documents?
Exactly, yes. So my name is mod administrator in this case, but you can see information about my phone. You can send me a quick email or message me as well. So
Ryan, what's your favorite feature?
That's a great question. I am always trying to see where people sit within the organization, and so I like talking to colleagues, but sometimes it's interesting. You have to go talk to someone who might be a level or two above you. I can really quickly see where they are within the organization. So the administrator doesn't actually have a admin account here or a manager here, but if I were to go back to Deborah, for example, I could find out what her organization chart looks like. Let's actually try someone else. We have another colleague here named Nestor, and he's a director, so we'll go ahead and pull him up. And so here are the Yammer conversations I have with him. So looks like we're still populating some of the accounts. So one of the things you might notice, that's actually a good thing to call out, is like we are building the index real time as you go through this. So all the information is stored on your tenant. However, since you just turned it on, within the first 24 hours, some of the content might not populate.
Yeah.
So that's just something to be aware of as you test this out within your own experience.
Yeah. So the people search is one thing that's affected, right? Because it will not instantaneously show up in your organization. It does take 24 hours to 48 hours for people results to show up in the organization.
Okay.
The other connected services that we saw with SharePoint, Teams, Yammer, and groups are all via APIs, so it's not really indexed. We are leveraging the index that is already built within these applications, and that's what we use.
Very cool.
So the way to think about Microsoft Search is one backend, one middle tier, multiple entry points into your search experience.
Very cool. So with that said, I want to actually switch back to a few next steps that I encourage everyone to take. And then from there, we can answer some questions that that users may have. So we just hopefully got most of you enabled. Let's go ahead and look at how to make this a good deployment for users. So first things first, I would encourage everyone to go out, create bookmarks and Q&As that are specific to your company. You have a choice of also pinning open the results, so that'll kind of show it to your users whenever they search on Bing. We also suggest you update the query suggestions, which you can make that are unique to some of the bookmarks you've just created as well. So for example, time off or vacation to trigger specific answers. And then check out some of the tools in the Tools tab. We didn't have a chance to go through all of them today, but we'll have future webcasts to talk about those in more depth. So with that said, one thing I did want to take a moment to share is some of our future direction. We're looking, in fact, so Johnny, do you want to talk about kind of some of the things we're looking at doing?
Yeah, so all my friends who have customized their enterprise search experience in the classic SharePoint, I think they would love to hear that Extensibility is coming out very soon. So extensibility has been behind our minds for the last almost 1 year or more. And trust me, it's coming sooner than we think. So we'll have the ability to customize the results. The nice thing about this is because of Microsoft Search being everywhere, your customizations will now flow across all the experiences, right? That's very powerful. There's also the whole ability for answers, right? Imagine, the information that you have in the enterprise, and a machine learning, machine comprehension tool actually is able to scan through this information and give the answers right within that paragraph, right within that document. That's what is the answers and the power of answers that's coming forward. There are very cool features like the floor plans, building locations, acronyms, and of course, Power Apps is one thing that's available today as part of the answers and insights.
Nice.
And of course, I think my favorite topic and the topic of plethora of
most companies,
search users and companies and admins is connectors, right? How do I get that true enterprise search experience in my organization? I think it's becoming a reality, which is great.
Yeah.
I'm very excited to hear more about the connectors and learn more about what Microsoft has to offer and what we want to extend.
Most companies cool. Don't have content and exclusive Microsoft ecosystems, and we totally get that, and we're definitely racing to address that. So.
And of course, content enrichment, I do want to call out that's also a big thing if you have invested in enterprise search in the past, and that's also something that will come into Microsoft Search.
Great. Cool. So how do you get help? We have a couple ways to do that. First one, we have a tech community site set up, so we encourage you all to participate there. You can join it. It's called Microsoft Search. We have a search blog. We're going to be posting regularly too, so go check that out. We also have the feedback scenario we talked about. So user voice, you can send, again, your employees can send information directly to you as tenant admins, or you can also send information or feedback within the feedback button as well that we will get, and we read every single one of them. So check that out. We're looking for feedback. This is our public preview, and we want to shape the product based on what you guys have to say. So I'm going to leave the screen up. We do really request. We have definitely some more sessions. We'd love to, if you want to dive deeper and provide a little bit more feedback about how your enterprise wants to take advantage of Microsoft Search and Bing, we'd love you to go fill out this link. That is an underscore there, so MSIB_feedback. Please go fill out that survey. We'll be reaching out to you. We have a team of researchers that loves to talk to folks about how to improve the product. So while that's up there, let's go ahead and take a couple minutes to answer some of the questions we're getting. This is a lot, and if we don't have time to finish them all, we will post sort of a summary of the FAQs after the call as well. So
I think one of the common questions is like, why Microsoft Search in Bing? So as part of the whole Microsoft Search announcement that we did in Ignite, one of the announcements is also that all of these modern experiences will actually start with Bing, right? So the way to think about this is if you're transitioning from a classic enterprise search experience in SharePoint to the modern SharePoint experiences, I would encourage you to check out Microsoft Search in Bing, because that's where you will start seeing whether it's the integration with Power Apps, the Q&As, the bookmarks, the floor plans, and anything that's coming out new. Right?
Cool.
So, yeah.
Cool. So I'm going to go through real fast and answer some of these verbally. Again, we'll sort of summarize. Do we support Dynamics or Power Platform? So this will come with our connector story. So Johnny mentioned a little while ago, so it's definitely on our roadmap. Messaging, definitely a popular question. We get, obviously we have Yammer and Teams. We're looking at adding Outlook messages in the future as well. Classic SharePoint search customizations influence on this new functionality.
So I think the answer is like, we are making all the innovations in the modern search experience. So when we announced the extensibility features, I think you can transition some of the classic customizations that you have done on the classic search experience. They may not be one-on-one parity with how they work in the modern search experience, but definitely, we understand that organizations have made customizations, and we want to, enable you to support whether it's different verticals or different refiners or different entities itself, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Dependency on Office Graph, yes, it does. It's built on top of it. So we leverage AAD and sort of the understanding of documents users use to expose that when you search for content. Let's see, Lacey here asks, we still use Classic because we use search scopes to group sites together. Is that an option here?
Yeah, I think that again is part of the whole extensibility and the customizations story. So right now in modern search experiences, we don't have the ability to create search scopes for different verticals, but we do understand that that's a requirement that many organizations have, and that should come as part of it. Yeah.
Nice. Add a title to the app launcher. Great suggestion. We'll work on doing that. That's a really good idea. We have a question here about are all searches will need to be initiated via the browser using Bing? So I think the short answer there is no. You'll be able to search in office.com. You'll be able to search in a number of entry points that we talked about earlier in the presentation. So Bing is one of the entry points. A lot of the new innovation is going to flow through Bing first, since we're a pretty agile team. And we're going to use this sort of as a way to test out new scenarios, new features for users. So definitely enabling Bing here will get you a lot of that content first. You also have the browser extension as well, which you can use. So
yeah, I do see a question on the custom formats and site designs across all of these experiences. I think that's a very interesting question. Today, site designs apply on modern SharePoint sites, but not necessarily on Office apps and other experiences. I think we'd love to learn a little more about what exactly you want to accomplish there for us to answer that question. But I think that's definitely something that we should pass on to the teams.
Yep. Let's see. So I'm going to kind of keep going through. Some of these we might come back and answer later on. I don't see ability to choose Power App environment. Yeah, right now, Mower answered that only the default Power Apps environment is supported. We can look into adding other non-default ones in the future. Let's see here. So I think at this point, since it is 10 o'clock, we do have quite a few more questions in the list. What we'll do is, again, follow up and sort of send out a summary, and we'll post this to our tech community. But hopefully everyone on the call was able to get this enabled for their organization. That was, again, the main goal. So thanks for tuning in to participate in, and hopefully you were all able to accomplish that. We'll check the forms to make sure that no one got stuck as well.
Yeah.
So
thanks, everyone, and let us know what you think about Microsoft Search and Microsoft Search in Bing. Right?
Yeah, wonderful. Thanks a lot, everyone. Have a good day.